My name is William Watson Hinds III. I'm visiting the embassy, American Embassy in Addis Ababa, because I had the pleasure of loaning some art to the Art and Embassy program. I came from New York to see how my children, as I call them, were being handled. And there are 16 pieces in the loan here in the ambassador's residence. They all have significance because they are related to African American culture and art in the States. The piece that I like to first start with is this piece by Romeo Bearden called Roots. And you can see by Roots that Romeo did this piece for the TV guide. Alex Haley, as you recall, wrote the story, and this piece was developed for the front page of the TV guide. And you can see that the background, we have a man looking across the waters, and at the bottom of the painting is a slave ship with slaves being taken over to the New World. And then you have the white birds flying around, and then you have a map of Africa with the sun in the background. Hopefully that Rome is trying to say that the sun will be setting, and that will end the whole bit of slavery. And this piece was done back in the 1970s when Alex Haley wrote his story about Roots and his family. William Smith had the motivation to do this piece called saluting Martin Luther King, called We Shall Overcome. And he executed this piece back in 1968. Smith was, of course, an Afro-American artist who worked in Cleveland and produced quite a few of these images of activities with local men, local Afro-American men. There's another piece across here by Smith called Poverty and Fatigue by of course, a man who had had a rough time. The other piece that Smith did was this one called Poverty and Fatigue, and it was done also about the same time that he did the piece saluting Martin Luther King. Smith was born in 1913 and died in 1987. And this was a piece that we included in the loan. These are two pieces here who were important men during this is by Elizabeth Catlett, during the Harlem Renaissance period. And this man here was the one who helped found the NAACP, who were from Atlanta. This is another significant piece. This piece was done by Charles Austin, and it's called Deserted House, and a lithograph, of course. And Austin, like many of the Afro-American painters during the 30s, when things were hard up, received a scholarship from the Works Project Administration, WPA, and the artists were, because they could not find activities to work to do, they were paid to paint different aspects of life, cultural life in America. Walking Blindly is the next piece here, done by Miss Catlett. And you can see the characters here. The lady is raising her hands up, sleeping, looking down, and the man there as if he's out of it. Miss Catlett did this in 1962, and I would suggest that the minorities, those of us who are so religious, so they are speaking to God Almighty. As I said, this is called Walking Blindly. The piece that we are looking at now is one called Dancing that Elizabeth did for Stevie Wonder. And if you know who Stevie Wonder is, Stevie Wonder is a singer, and he signed since he blind singer. This is his signature here with his thumb, and the dances are there, and it was for the Wonder Foundation that Elizabeth did, was commissioned to do for him. Betty Saar had a difficult time dealing with the racist mentality of the white establishment there. This piece is called Ho, Who, Dollhouse, and Aunt Jemima. Aunt Jemima, according to the racist black image, and that blacks were happy to smile and laugh a lot. And Betty decided she would attack them and develop this piece. And she was a painter who went around the city picking up pieces of art, pieces that she would make into art. And this was her attack on helping fight the racist problems that we have in the States. As you know, we have, unfortunately, some racism which still exists. And the artists, many of them are in the forefront of fighting the establishment to get rid of some of this negative mentality. Another piece by Elizabeth Catlett that's called Harriet. And Harriet was busy, as you can see pointing, that she was busy freeing, helping take the slaves out of bondage and using what is called from the south up north the Underground Railroad. And she worked through the whole thing. Luckily, she was not captured, because if she were captured, they probably, her master, a white slave master, probably would. Artists are not supposed to have favorite pieces, and of course I have a favorite here, and that's Two Generation that Elizabeth Miss Catlett did, and it's called Two Generations, that she did it in 1979. As you can see, a grandmother and son, which represent the generational gaps that she explored. Many Afro-Americans, or blacks, the slaves, after they were freed from slavery, supposedly, became sharecroppers. The white slave owners hired the blacks to work on their property, and they were called shareholders. This lady obviously had a rough day, as Elizabeth is expressing here, and she's looking out to see about the crops. It's one of her more famous pieces that's been around for quite a while. The next piece we're taking a look at is called Latchkey Child by Elizabeth Catlett. It's significant because the parents frequently are not at home when the children come in from school. They are busy working or something. So what she's expressed here is this child is sitting waiting to go home, and then the key here is that's why we call it the Latchkey Child. And this one was done in 1988. Across the way here is just another of Miss Catlett's pieces called the Madonna Twice, and this is a serograph, and she's holding the child, and we think maybe some African significance with the headband that the mother is wearing. And of course the child is looking out into space. The piece here, it shows four characters in song, and the lady here on The right is praying. Religion has played an important part in the Afro-American tradition. And this is singing our song. You can see the expression there of people singing one of the spirituals or hymns that the blacks are noted for. Remember, we looked at a piece by Romy Beard, and this is the second piece here in the collection called "The Family," which Romy did in 1975. The family sitting around the dinner table. Jake Lawrence did this piece called the Harlem Street Scene, which he did in 1975. And you can see typical activity on a Harlem street with the movement of people, and we have the kids playing, drawing something. The little girl is getting ready to jump rope. The character here is with his guitar, the music, and the old guy is just walking out to see his friends. Sometimes we wonder, there's a lady here, whether or not she is a businesswoman or just what she might be involved in, but this shows the characters that would appear, according to Lawrence, in the street scene in Holland. Thank you.